Hello and welcome to the Love Reading LitFest. I am delighted to be joined by Adam Barron. Adam is the author of 4 children's books. His debut, Boy Underwater, is where we first meet Cymbeline Igloo. What a great name. And Sim's adventure continue with You Won't Believe This and This Wonderful Thing. At the heart, they are a mystery, but they are stories of family and friendship, of sadness and love. And they are all also very funny. And Adam's latest book, Some Sunny Day, is no exception. It's a story of hope and kindness set in the recent pandemic. Sim is fed up of lockdown. He's missing his friends, he's missing his favourite food, and he realises he's even missing school. Life is monotonous until his signed Charlton Athletic football shirt is accidentally cleared away into a charity bag. Sim is crushed. It's his prized possession. But who is the strange girl he sees wearing his beloved football shirt, and how can he get it back? There are lots of very sad parts in this book, and I did cry a few times, but it's really funny. Welcome, Adam.
Thanks for having me. It's lovely to be here.
And also joining us is one of our young reading ambassadors, Emily Berry. Hello, Emily.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us. Emily, I know you're a keen reader. What sort of books do you really enjoy reading?
I like a lot of historical books, so that's why I like the World War II element in this book. And I also like books that can really really understand what some people are going through and what I could be going through. That's why Lockdown, it pitched it in a perfect way. That's why I really love this book.
Oh, brilliant. Yes. Okay. And is there anything else you really enjoyed about the book?
I like the kind of realistic element of it. Although it's funny and COVID can be really fun, people still did get affected by it a lot. So it still shows that those things still can happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I know you have a few questions for Adam. So let's start with your first one. Over to you, Emily.
So is there any relation between you and World War II that made you include it in this book?
Oh, there really is, Emily. That's a really interesting question. I'm really pleased to hear you're interested in history in World War II, because my uncle, Ernest, my dad was fairly old when he had me, and he had a much older brother, Ernest, who flew in a Lancaster bomber. And he died. He was killed over Germany, and he's buried in a German war cemetery. And my dad lived through the war. My mum was evacuated from Grimsby to the town I grew up in Louth. So bombing and the Blitz really interested me. And then I found this amazing website called thebombsite.com, which you can look at, and it shows every single bomb that ever fell in World War II in London. And when I went on that, this was long before I was thinking of this book, I realized that one bomb fell about 50 yards from my house, and that there are some modern flats near my house, and they must be there because some old houses were blown up. And I think that's what gave me a real idea for using the Blitz. But I also wanted to connect the pandemic to the last big national event where everybody got together, and that was the Blitz, where people thought, wow, we all have to team together. We all have to be we're all part of this really big problem. We're going to get over it together. So yeah, that's why.
Thank you. My next question is that Cymbeline is quite an unusual name. So did anything cause you to pick that name, or was it just random?
Oh, Emily, it's really weird when you write, because you can think up things, you can make decisions about things, you can change things. But for me, the names of my characters just come, and they're real. I don't make them up. It just arrived. The name came to me with the whole character. It's like magic. I don't understand it, because I teach creative writing as well, but that's something you can never teach. The name, if you've got a name that you know is the character. I mean, can you imagine being called anything other than Emily? It's really weird to think of, isn't it? Some people do change their name, but no, the name Cymbeline just arrived. It's like an unwanted guest in my house. It just burst in demanding things.
I read it. Doesn't it mean sun god or sun king or something like that? There's some.
Yeah.
I was thinking that actually that was quite a nice little kind of, with some sunny day. Was quite a nice little coincidence.
I didn't know that. That's amazing. I didn't know that. Thanks. I'm going to look that up now. No, and I love Shakespeare, and there's one of Shakespeare's late plays is called Cymbeline. So maybe that's where it came from. Yes. Who knows? Yeah. But in Boy Underwater, you find out why he's called Cymbeline, actually.
Ah, we'll have to read that, Emily, hey? And do you want to go on with your next question?
Yeah. What was your aim for this book to do, like, when young people read it?
Well, I was in a bookshop, a Waterstones bookshop in Lewes, which is a lovely town. And this was a while ago, I was chatting to one of the booksellers there and talking about writing and pandemic. And she said there hadn't been any children's books, any books for young people set during the pandemic. And I thought that's really strange. And I was living through lockdown. I've got 3 kids. They were all living through lockdown, having these amazing experiences, this once in a lifetime, hopefully, event, which was traumatic, difficult, odd. And I thought, well, I've got to write about this because people are experiencing this. And I also knew that these things can go away. And I wanted this to be, it's almost like a marker in one's life. You can look at this book when you're as old as I am, Emily, and go, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember Clap for Carus. I remember these things. So I just felt that it was such an important event that I had to write about
it. So this book, it contains like some social stuff like treatment of refugees.
Yeah.
Is that like in relation to you, or like?
Yeah, so I'm very interested in people who move countries and come here because my grandparents were refugees to London. They came from Lithuania and Romania. They were fleeing persecution. My grandmother never really spoke English. I never got to meet her, actually. So the idea, and I think refugees, the idea of what we are as a country in terms of, we've got a lot of money and people want to come here from places across the world. It's a big debate in our country as to how we handle that. And I just wanted to show how positive it can be when you meet a human being. They're just a human being from another country. Yeah. So I wanted to write about refugees. I wouldn't be here if this country hadn't been really, really cool with refugees. And my dad did wonderful things for this country. So refugees can be the most powerful and positive force in a country. So I write about refugees a lot, actually. I've realized
that. Did you take inspiration from your kids and like kids to create a realistic appearance of lockdown?
Yeah, so I did, and all the things that Cymbeline goes through. I mean, not being able to get 2 meters away from his best friend to play football. My children had the same thing. You probably did the same thing, going to the park and seeing a person, your best friend, and you couldn't go near them. You weren't allowed to play football with them. Maybe your football or your frisbee went near them, they threw it back, and then you got your hand sanitizer out, things like that. So we did Clap for Carers, and my wife wanted to be louder, so she got the frying pan and she was banging the frying pan, and the handle came off the frying pan, and the frying pan went down the street, things like that. So and also the more serious things where you're just desperate to see your friends, you're desperate to be able to go out. My kids got doing homeschool. They must have been so bored of me, and we tried to make it fun, but it was hard, So yeah, it all comes from and being in the supermarket. I don't know if you remember fighting over loo roll. My wife came home one day from the supermarket saying people were literally fighting over the last packet of loo roll. So all of that stuff went in the book. I wanted the book. I wanted it to be like a sort of a big bag where I could put all the fun stuff, the funny things about lockdown, but also all the difficult things about lockdown. I wanted it to sort of contain everything if I could make it do that.
Thank you. That was my last question.
That was your last question. I did enjoy that part in the book where when they were banging the pans for the Clap for Carers.
Yes.
That happened in the book, didn't it? And
yeah,
then
it did.
Sim couldn't get his pancakes.
Yeah, he couldn't get his pancakes. So it was all like that. And, can we have this? No, we haven't got any flour. Going off to the top of the street. And I thought I'd bought the right flour because the man at the top of the street in the corner shop was brilliant. And he got food from all over the world, and it didn't have English on the front. So you didn't know if you were buying the right flour or whatever. I came home with chickpea flour, which by mistake. We made pancakes. No, they did. They were good, but they were savory ones. They were pretty good, but they weren't very, things like that. So yeah, all of that stuff. And also, I have a confession to make. I'm a bit of a lazy writer. So Emily likes historical fiction. I'm not the kind of guy who's going to research the 13th century for 2 years and then write a book. I kind of felt this is all here. It was all around me. And I could pluck all these amazing moments off the tree. But also, on a more serious note, I do know people who lost their family members to COVID. So I kind of had a sense that there was this amazing thing that had so much kind of story energy, if you like, in it, for funny things, serious things, harsh things, reflective things. And I, as I say, I wanted to draw them all together in one book.
Yes. I guess it occurred to me that in the book, we haven't talked about Mrs. Stebbings yet, and what an important character she was. Yeah. But she is being the children want to talk to her because of her memories of the home front for their World War II study. And it occurred to me that actually our children now will be in exactly that position, in generations to come. They will be the ones who have these memories of pandemic to pass on.
I know, and we were saying that to our children, just to saying that this may seem normal to you now, 6 weeks sitting at home without leaving the front door for more than half an hour at a time. But this is literally amazing. And you will tell your grandchildren about this strange, bizarre moment in history. It's exactly that. And people will do projects on this, and there will be people who go, no, it wasn't like that, or it was, or first-hand accounts. And what's really brilliant about that is that everybody's got their own individual thing. So I've been talking to this book, and people have said, oh no, what happened to me was this or this or this and this. So it's like a collective meeting place of experiences.
Yes. Also, I thought that Some Sunny Day would be a brilliant classroom read, because at the end of every chapter, there's something great to talk about. And you weave in, you mentioned already the refugee issue, there's mental health, there's diverse families. There's all sorts of issues that come into this book that I think would make it a really great classroom read, because it reads aloud so well. And I think a lot of parents would really enjoy reading this as a bedtime story as well, for a 9-year-old plus, because it is such an entertaining read, but it also does examine some really important issues.
Thank you very much. The audio book is narrated by an actor called Hugh Parmenter, and he does such a brilliant job. It's so funny. He does it brilliantly. He really brings it up. But I have to confess that when I'm writing it, I actually do read it aloud afterwards. I'll read a chapter aloud. My neighbors must think I'm crazy to hear this sort of, especially on a summer day when the window's open, But I do read it aloud, and I want it to read well aloud.
Yes. I really like your use of like the fonts and some of the page designs as well, when they're sort of like suddenly leave me alone, and
I know. Well, it's strange that, because when I write, I do that. Yeah, when I do that, I always assume my publisher will change it and redo it, but they never do. They leave it all. So it's really good fun. I love doing that.
Yes, I think it's an excellent way to hear Sim's voice. Somehow you can just hear it shouting out from the page. Yes, I thought it was brilliant. Massive mistake. Yeah, I love that. Well, brilliant. Well, look, thank you, Emily. I thought they were excellent questions. You did a great job.
Thank you.
And so Adam's going to read an excerpt from the book, I think the start of the book. Some Sunny Day. Over to you, Adam.
Thanks very much. So this is Some Sunny Day by me. And I don't need to say anything about it, because I'll just read from the very, very start, just for a minute or two. I'll read a page and a half or something. So here's something you won't believe. Not that long ago, I, Cymbeline Igloo, made 2 completely new best friends. Why should you be surprised? This is lockdown. we're talking about. No one was supposed to go near anyone else, let alone make friends with them. And my mum was totally paranoid. Social distancing was like her catchphrase. If someone was walking towards us, she'd shout, stop, wait there. If people didn't hear or just ignored her, we'd literally have to turn around and go the other way. Once, it took us half an hour to get to our corner shop. It was like being in a maze. Another time, there were people coming from both directions, and neither was shifting over. I thought Mum would drag me into the road like she sometimes did, but a bus was coming. So do you know what she did? Did she just walk past, press us back as far as we could go? No. She told me to climb a tree. She did, and she came after. People pointed up at us like we were nuts, especially when she started shouting, 2 meters, 2 meters, like some weird, enormous parrot. And the humiliation did not end there. We were up the tree for ages because joggers kept going by, and people in the flats opposite came onto their balconies and started filming us. We only escaped after one jogger was so surprised to see us up there that he tripped over a paving stone and went flying. Sorry, Mum said from the tree as he was hobbling away. As for my two current best friends, Mum wouldn't let me near them. It's not allowed, she insisted, after we'd been in lockdown like for what seemed like forever. I'd asked if I could see Lance. You can't meet up with anyone outside your own family. But I don't want to meet up with him. Then what do you want? Are we allowed in Greenwich Park? Of course. And is Lance? Yes, as long as I know 2 meters, social distancing. So what if you don't arrange with Lance's mum to meet in the park, but you tell her that we'll be there? Then we could just happen to be there too. And if I happen to kick my football, then Lance, who would happen to be 2 meters away, could happen to kick it back. But Mum wasn't having it. She said we had to Zoom instead, but it was rubbish. So that's the opening of Some Sunny Day.
That's excellent. Thank you so much, Adam. And I think that just illustrates what a brilliant book it is to read aloud. So we've come to the end of our event. I really enjoyed finding out a little bit more about the book, a little bit more about you. And I really can't recommend Some Sunny Day highly enough. I know it was a very difficult time, and there are lots of very sad parts of the pandemic, but I wonder whether we could finish with a couple of positive things from you both. Perhaps one that affected you and your family a bit more personally, and a more positive thing that that the whole world benefits from. Emily, do you want to go first? Was there anything good about lockdown?
I think overall it just made families closer together, and then like for a more global aspect, it made communities closer together, from like clap to carers to like working together with like little bookstores outside your house where you give people books and all that. Like it just made communities closer together.
I think you're absolutely right. I think it did do that. And maybe we're also a little bit more aware of how important certain people are to us, like the carers, like the NHS staff, like all sorts of people who work in shops and deliveries. And I think that really was an eye-opener, wasn't it? Thank you.
It just made us that much more grateful for what we have.
Yeah.
Adam?
Well, I would say a similar thing. For our family, it was lovely, actually, for me to spend time with my family. I'm not sure they feel the same, my children, but there you go. No, we had fun in lockdown, and we had a song that we all sang in the morning, "Brimful of Asher." Do you know that one? That one got us up. That would be on my Desert Island discs. That would be, and yeah. So spending more time with our family, I think families will be closer than they would have been. They'll grow up as adults, being much closer to their siblings, perhaps, than they might have been because they've had this experience. But then coming out of lockdown, realizing almost like everybody else is part of your extended family. It was so brilliant for me to see my friends, my wife to see her friends again properly. I remember the first time people came into our house again. It was amazing. And then my kids seeing their friends and being so excited to do so. I think it's made us realize that the first thing would be, it's made us realize how important the people in our lives are in an age where there's so much digital stuff going on. There's nothing like being with other human beings you like. I was at a music festival recently. It was amazing just to see people listening to live music again. But I think on a bigger level, just as Emily said, I think it's made us realize who are the important people in our society? Who are they really? And they're the people who keep us going. I mean, the amazing teachers during lockdown, I simply couldn't believe how they completely turned their jobs 90 degrees and did it brilliantly in a completely new way. Nurses, but people who work in supermarkets, we don't normally think of them as like really crucial to us, but of course they are. And the man in the corner shop at the top of the road who was working almost like 14 hours a day to get food in just for the people, you know, who live near me. It was amazing. It was brilliant. So I think, and what I really hope is that nurses, teachers, and teaching assistants, people like that can be properly valued in our culture and be far more valued than perhaps people who were the people we thought were amazing before.
Yes, I absolutely agree. Yes, I think those were just the essence of the positive things, and I hope we can continue on with those in our communities. So, thank you both for joining us. Our readers can head over to Love Reading for Kids and buy their copy of Some Sunny Day. And you can also find reviews and download the first chapter of Some Sunny Day and also Adam's other books. And so thank you both for joining us, and thank you for watching, and happy reading. Thank you.